Today we're going to be watching the rest of the video that I couldn't bring myself to watch the last time because there was just so much evil going on and I just couldn't. But it's important too, so we can remind ourselves of, what we're dealing with and the kind of things that are being overlooked or being covered up. Anyway,
14 and in a completely alien situation, an incomprehensible position. How did you react?
I just remember afterwards how I felt walking down the stairs, and I just felt so dirty and so just like a piece of me had been taken. Dirty, I felt.
Dirty.
It was like my dirty little secret.
Virginia Giuffre's experience was eerily similar, except her recruiter was not a fellow teen, but the sophisticated and seemingly trustworthy Ghislaine Maxwell. Virginia was 16 and working at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort when Maxwell spied her reading a textbook on massage.
She just seemed very nice, and she said, I've got a person that I know who's actually looking for a traveling masseuse. And if you want, I can get you an interview with him. If he likes you, we can get you educated. You'll be a real masseuse. And you'll get to travel and see the world. And she made it sound like it was a dream come true. And it wasn't.
Within hours, Virginia was at Epstein's Florida mansion, lured there by Maxwell's promise. It ended in a devastating sexual attack.
So put it this way, we did the back of him, we did the back of Epstein, and then when he turned over, that's when I was instructed to get undressed and have sex with Jeffrey Epstein while Ghislaine Maxwell was participating as well.
You want to take a moment?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay.
So you were abused by both of them in your very first encounter?
Yeah, both of them. I was abused by Ghislaine and Epstein. I don't mean to sound sexist in any way, shape, or form, but I expected it from a man, but I didn't expect it from a woman.
That is exactly what I'm feeling.
Yeah, I think that's what hurts the most.
Maxwell's role as Epstein's co-conspirator, for which she is now serving a 20-year jail term, is well known. But in truth, it went well beyond Maxwell. The pair devised a scheme to feed Epstein's voracious appetite. They lured poverty-stricken girls in with cash, fanning their dreams of a better life. According to journalist Lucia Osborne Crowley, by the time the sexual abuse began, many were too invested in their promises to get out.
This was a well-oiled machine of finding vulnerable young girls who really needed someone to look after them, and then also using those girls to try and entrap younger and younger girls. And a lot of that, it seems, was developed in Florida.
How many girls do you think you brought to Jeffrey Epstein?
At the minimum 50,
Whoa.
but anywhere from 50 to 70 girls.
And what were their ages?
The same ages of me, 14, 15, 16. I just hold a lot of guilt and shame for doing those things. And just to know that I had any influence on that happening to somebody else, just, it's just devastating and breaks my heart.
Epstein's vile pyramid scheme might have continued unchecked, if not for the stepmother of one of his teenage victims, who called the Palm Beach Police Department in 2005.
It was an incident that occurred maybe like three and a half weeks ago with one of my stepdaughters. Found out that ended up being that they went to Palm Beach to a gentleman's house, and they start off by giving this gentleman a massage, and he pays them. If he likes them and he thinks that they're pretty enough, he keeps them around to do other things. Okay. So I wasn't quite sure if there was an investigation or if you guys had any word.
Well, this is the first I'm hearing of it.
That initial call was so alarming, the police launched an investigation. And it didn't take them long to uncover the revolting scale of Epstein's network.
2005.
Did Jeff know anybody's real true age, or he didn't care?
I don't think he cared. He told me the younger the better.
He asked me to take my shirt off, so I took my shirt off.
Okay, so were you in bra or were you topless?
I ended up being topless, yeah.
And he started getting a little excited about it, and he started touching himself.
During the massage, did he ask you to remove your pants, or?
Yeah.
Police interviewed a staggering 40 victims whose ages ranged from 13 to 16. Their accounts were shocking enough. But what they found in Epstein's home was a creepy insight into his depraved life. Dozens of nude photos, a steam room, and a massage room with sex toys. Among the damning evidence were phone message pads, clearly showing a trade in young girls, scheduling them for massage appointments. And flight logs listing girls being transported aboard Jeffrey's private plane, dubbed the Lolita Express.
I think it's really important
so
to know
sick.
that it is actually much, much worse than we think.
In 2006, much to the relief of police, this predator was finally caught, a wealth of evidence amassed against him. But his own vast wealth and his immense influence saw him escape charges that should have landed him in jail for life. Instead, he served a mere 13 months when prosecutors accepted his guilty plea to the minor charge of soliciting a child for prostitution. But while he was technically an inmate at the Palm Beach County Stockade, he really just slept there.
It was essentially a slap on the wrist. He got 12-hour work release from prison every single day. Other journalists have described it as he just basically had to sleep in a crappy motel for, a bit over a year.
For many, the most outrageous part of Epstein's plea bargain was a seedy deal he struck with the Attorney General for the Southern District of Florida. It gave Epstein and any alleged co-conspirators, known or unknown, immunity from further prosecution, supposedly forever. Worse still, none of his victims were told about the deal. How do you feel about that?
To be sexually abused by a man and have the government know, and then actually, co-conspire with the perpetrator to make sure nothing happens to him is just so, it just sounds unreal.
Why do you think the government did that?
My personal opinion about that is, money, power, and I think that there was a lot of people involved in this underage minor sex ring that they were running. And
They didn't want to
I think
come out.
everybody wanted it to go away.
That's the
So you
thing.
believe that there was a conspiracy at play here?
Oh,
This
absolutely.
is so sad. This is so sad. I know I'm just getting into it, but I've already had enough. This is so sad. It's hurting me so much because there's still people like this. There's still people like this doing things like this and still going scot-free without, with a little slap on the wrist. They let him go because he has something against a lot of other famous people, and they didn't want it to come out, so they had to get him out of there. Put him back out there so he can do much worse. To think of that this is so sad.
It really is a sordid story, everything that happened in Florida, and the fact that authorities did know, did arrest him, did charge him, and he still was able to continue.
And according to Virginia Giuffre, the abuse didn't stop with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. she was not just their sexual plaything. She was now part of their international sex trafficking ring, lent out to whomever they liked.
I was trafficked to other billionaires. I was trafficked to politicians, professors, even royalty. It was the elite of the world. It was the people who run the world. It was the most powerful people in the world.
Ghislaine was this sort of very exotic, glamorous figure who would drop in and, to be honest, name drop a lot of famous names that she'd been hanging out with. We heard about Bill Clinton and sort of all sorts of other people. And we also knew that she was very good friends with Prince Andrew, and that Jeffrey Epstein would sometimes have Prince Andrew to stay.
As a British expat in New York, journalist Vicky Ward moved in similar circles to socialite Ghislaine Maxwell, the daughter of disgraced mega-rich media tycoon Robert Maxwell. Following her father's suspicious death aboard his boat in 1991, Ghislaine moved to New York, where she started her relationship with the millionaire Jeffrey Epstein. In 2002, Vicky was assigned to write a profile of the mysterious financier for Vanity Fair magazine.
When I began reporting this piece, I actually ran into Ghislaine Maxwell. And I sort of said breezily, "Oh, Ghislaine, yes, I'm writing this story about Jeffrey and the money." And I was really taken aback when she started to cry. I'm like, why is this woman crying? This doesn't seem to make any sense. Well, I didn't know that I was, from her perspective, probably in danger of pulling back the curtain on what was an absolutely horrific criminal sexual enterprise involving both of them.
Epstein and Maxwell complemented each other perfectly. He had the money she was used to, she had the contacts he wanted. The most high profile, of course, being Prince Andrew, who is famously accused of abusing the then 17-year-old Virginia Giuffre at Epstein and Maxwell's invitation.
We went to Club Tramp and he danced with me and he sweats a lot and he smells funny. And then we get in the car and Ghislaine tells me in the car that I have to do what I do for Jeffrey for Prince Andrew. And that's when I learned what was going to happen.
There's a slight problem with the sweating because
it was a claim and counterclaim that turned this royal's life upside down. His ill-advised decision to appear on the BBC in 2019 left him, if not sweating, then red-faced. His attempt to convince us he knew nothing of the teenage Virginia fell flat when this photo, taken in 2001 in Maxwell's London apartment, resurfaced.
She provided a photo of the two of you together.
Yes.
How do you explain that?
I can't. Because I have absolutely no memory of that photograph ever being taken.
Your friend suggested that the photo is fake.
How can he really keep a straight
I think
face
it's
with this?
from the investigations that we've done, you can't prove whether or not that photograph is faked or not because it is a photograph of a photograph of a photograph. So it's very difficult to be able to prove it. But I don't remember that photograph ever being taken.
So as you know, Prince Andrew denies the allegations against him, and he says that this photo is a fake, that he was never there, and that is not his arm, and they're not his fingers.
Those are his fingers. That is Andrew. This photo has been verified as an original, and it's been since given to the FBI, and they've never contested that it's a fake. And I know it's real. And he needs to stop with all of these lame excuses. We're sick of hearing it. This is a real photo.
And that was the first time you met him?
And that's the very first time I met him. And that's right before I was abused by him.
How many times were you trafficked to him?
3 times.
Her allegations against Prince Andrew are laid bare in the newly unsealed court documents. The disgraced royal is mentioned 69 times, and not just by Virginia. Johanna Schoberg, who was 21 at the time, claims to have had her own traumatic experience with Prince Andrew. And she says she saw the Prince and Virginia together at the Epstein mansion in New York. According to British-based Australian author Lucia Osborne Crowley, her account, given under oath, is damning of the Prince.
We also have an allegation from a separate victim, Johanna, who has said that she was groped by Prince Andrew. So that's incredibly significant because we have sworn testimony from a second person corroborating that he did engage in illegal acts relating to minors.
Do you expect Prince Andrew to be under further legal scrutiny?
I think that certainly Prince Andrew will be facing many, many, many more questions given what we've learned in these new documents. And it's really important, I think, for the authorities to look at the fact that there is a second person who's alleging that he broke the law and whether they need to speak to those victims and other potential victims to see if there is anything that they can or should be charging him with.
I wonder if you have any sense now of guilt, regret or shame about any of your behaviour and your friendship with Epstein?
As far as my association with him was concerned, it had some seriously beneficial outcomes in areas that have nothing to do with what I would describe as what we're talking about today.
Prince Andrew has since found regret, but continues to deny all the allegations levelled at him. He settled with Virginia Giuffre on the eve of their civil trial in 2022, reportedly for more than $15 million. In settling with her, the Prince likely thought the saga was over, but the release of these latest documents once again raises questions for him and many other Epstein associates.
Those are very, very wealthy, powerful people, and so far they've escaped without many questions being asked of them.
Billionaire financier Jeffrey Epstein has been arrested, charged with sex trafficking involving underage girls.
He could face up to 45 years behind bars.
It was a prized catch. In 2019, the roar around Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring was so loud, police were forced to act. Neatly befitting the lifestyle of a jet-setting millionaire, Epstein was nabbed on his private plane as he landed back in the US from Paris. For his most outspoken victim, Virginia Giuffre, his arrest was a gift more than 20 years in the making.
I never thought it was going to happen. I honestly thought he was just going to continue to get away with it over and over and over again, just like he proved so many times. So yeah, it was like Christmas in July. Big time.
But the expectation that Epstein would finally face his crimes was dashed when he was found dead by suicide in his jail cell a month later.
Disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein has taken his own life.
The bombshell development raising many
month
questions.
After his...
With Epstein dead, the charges against him were dismissed, denying justice to his many victims. And his co-conspirator, British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell, became the most wanted woman in the world as she went on the run.
So the idea that this woman could be involved in something as depraved and horrific as this, that was mind-boggling.
As journalist Vicky Ward and the rest of the world watched on in fascination, Ghislaine was tracked down to a luxurious New Hampshire hideaway after eluding police for a year.
Today we announced the arrest of one of the villains in this investigation.
This day to me has been like one of the best days of my life. I have not stopped smiling and crying happy tears. And I'm just, I'm elated to know that she's where she belongs.
Immediately upon Maxwell's arrest, Virginia spoke for all the victims of the sex trafficking ring.
She ruined so many lives. She belongs in jail. You want to hurt kids? That's where you go.
In 2022, Maxwell was convicted on 5 sex trafficking counts. The then 60-year-old sentenced to 20 years in jail. She has lodged an appeal which will be reviewed in March and continues to claim her innocence from jail, as she told her brother, Kevin Maxwell.
Everyone was always asking who is the real G, who's the real Ghislaine.
It's definitely not the person portrayed. I feel completely divorced from the person that people reference.
Body language does not lie.
And so the biggest misconception of you?
That I'm the cruelest, meanest, horriblest person who's committed crimes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I literally haven't seen any details that are accurate.
Lucia Osborne Crowley was one
Body
of the few
language
journalists
does not lie,
granted
though.
access to the court to report on Maxwell's trial.
It was surprising that even at her own federal sex trafficking trial, she didn't appear to have a lot of humility and still was incredibly confident. And I certainly got the sense that she did not expect to be convicted.
And certainly no remorse.
Certainly no remorse. She basically said that she was sorry for the damage that Jeffrey Epstein had caused them, and that's all she said.
With Maxwell behind bars and Epstein dead, this case appeared to be resolved. But the recent release of these court documents shows how little we still know.
There are so many names that we are left with question marks about. What was his appeal? Why did some of the most powerful men in the world flock to him? What was Bill Gates doing around Jeffrey Epstein? I'd love to hear from Bill Clinton what he saw in Jeffrey Epstein. That would be great to know.
In all, more than 150 names have been linked to the disgraced millionaire.
150!
But apart from some denials of any wrongdoing, the silence from those identified has been deafening.
We've got evidence of sworn testimony where people are naming very, very powerful people who would have been in a position potentially to do something about what was going on here. And instead we had a sex trafficking ring that went on for at least 2 decades, possibly 3, with almost complete impunity. And so that's the point that I think we really all need to hold on to about scale here, is that not the splashiness of these names, but just how many there are, just how many people there are that victims pointed to say, this person can corroborate my story, this person can be a witness, this person met me on the island, this person saw me. And those are very, very wealthy, powerful people. And so far they've escaped without many questions being asked of them.
We'd have to assume that they're just running from this as far and as fast as they can.
Yes, well, I've been quite surprised at the silence over the last couple of weeks, if I'm completely honest. I would have thought that at least some of these people would have felt an obligation to do some explaining.
At the very least, association with Jeffrey Epstein raises questions of judgment.
Michael Jackson
Nobody
is in there.
looks good for having hung out with Jeffrey Epstein, now knowing everything that we know. Whether or not they should be held accountable as to whether or not there was any criminal activity. And obviously, we just don't know. One has to hope that because we now know so much more, that there is so much public scrutiny on this, that the wheels of justice will turn in a way that they definitely didn't for a very long time.
The legacy of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell is to expose a darkness too awful to imagine. But as difficult as it is to comprehend, it would seem there's even more to be revealed.
Certainly from what I know, that there are more people who aren't even on this list that either knew or potentially participated in what was going on around Jeffrey Epstein.
Do you expect that others will be charged, that others will face prosecution?
I very much hope so. I think it's really important to know it is actually much, much worse than we think and that we're comfortable accepting.
no idea. This is insane. This is insane. I mean, they did mention a lot of famous people in there, and I can't say, oh, they are guilty, because nothing has been proven yet. But oh my goodness, this is insane. This is crazy. This video was posted like 2 years ago, and I decided to check it out because I've been seeing, you know, Jeffrey Epstein's name everywhere, and tiny clips of some of his interviews. I was curious, like, who is this man and why is he everywhere? That's why I decided to jump into to know more about him. And oh my goodness, I mean, I feel sick even thinking about it. It's insane. And knowing that a lot of elites are in there and would do anything for this not to get out there, as well as commit murder so the case would be closed. Thank you for watching the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe, be kind, and bye.